It's really fun to pretend that you have everything figured out, isn't it? We're all a little sanctimonious here. We're all a little bit at fault. We all subscribe to certain slants of the news, well, if you can call it news. And we like to pretend that we're all well informed about things, that our media sources aren't slanting things to promote their own propaganda. If there was ever a time where we looked at things objectively, religion, first of all, has tainted our collective unconscious and made truth nothing more than a footnote. So when you have that as your prerequisite to life, when your truth is limited to your faith and what you feel is real, then it's a nice stepping off point for your political agenda. American culture is funny that way, but I don't think it's just limited to Americans, because you see injustice abroad. And mostly you could hear a collective yawn from the people. You could look at technology in two ways. One, it makes things a lot easier. It makes things more simple. We can communicate with anybody in the world via the internet. We have phones and satellites, and it's wonderful, right? It's great. But having a million sources for news has done nothing but blindside the actual reality on things. Because they have us wrapped around their thumb or their fingers. They have us wrapped around something. Maybe they have us wrapped around their throbbing dicks. And they get off on it. They get off on lying to us. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like anybody really seems to care. And when I was a kid, this used to really bug me. You know, it was a passion of mine to try to get people to rally up and at least be vocal about it, at least be aware of the reality of life and the reality of our broken political spectrum. But the older I get, the more futile it seems, and I find myself slipping into the exact spot that I know that the government and our political leaders want me to be conformed to, and want all of you to be conformed to. They want us to be conformed to this convenient lifestyle at home, where we can have the internet and TV and all this pseudo-reality, intellectually bankrupt programming to keep us dull and boring. I'm not saying that that was the original intent, you know, for our media, because I don't think that anybody can see things that far in advance. It just so happens that they found a way to constrict us within it. You know, we dumb ourselves down as a culture, and we make heroes out of people that don't have anything to fucking say. If I asked you right now if you knew who Eminem was, I guarantee you you'd say, yeah, I know who the fuck that is. Of course you do. Everybody knows who Eminem is. He's that guy that used to have the blonde hair and he slipped off the wagon, and now he just writes songs about his infinite struggles in life and how he promises to overcome them. But go to any bar, go to any restaurant, you could probably even go to a bookstore where, you know, the intellectuals hang out, and ask them who Bradley Manning is. Go ahead and ask them. I guarantee you the majority of people won't have a fucking clue who it is. There's a whole demographic of people, however, that know who Julian Assange is. A guy that hasn't been in solitary confinement for 7 fucking months. A guy that is a mouthpiece for an organization, because we can't have anything in our culture without there being a face attached to it. But even then, it's a small demographic. Ask how many people have watched the fucking Twilight series, or have heard of Snooki from the Jersey Shore, or The Situation. And what is the situation? Are his abs the situation, or is he the situation? Because that's something I've been confused about for a long time. I've only seen parts of the show, and that is painful to admit. Ugh. See, I'm constricting myself within it too. I just feel suffocated. I feel suffocated by the same industry that I promote. Because I make videos talking about my opinions on things, about the truth that I think exists. We live in a country that has 2 parties that operate for the same corporate mechanism. We have Republicans, who I really like to attack because they're just really blatant in their injustice. They don't even give a shit. Like, yeah, fuck you. We don't care about you. It makes me mad that middle-class Republicans don't notice something wrong with the fact that they have the exact same objectives as the wealthy, the extremely wealthy do. And I don't think that people really understand the wealth inequality in America. How companies like Goldman Sachs keep posting record profits every single fucking year. But you know, if you go to my hometown of Keokuk, Iowa, a town that has about 12,000 people in it, There's a French company called Roquette that has locked out a whole bunch of union workers because they wanted to slash their benefits and slash their money. So the wealthy elite in that business can keep posting record profits. But you know, those people are probably fucked. People that have been there for 30, 40 years have showed loyalty to their company. They don't give a fuck about them. And that's how America works. That's how this whole goddamn country works. Because now, there are new people that have filled their positions for a fraction of the cost. Because, let's face it, they can't find fucking jobs either. And maybe this shouldn't bother me, you know, because I personally can't change anything. Sometimes I feel like I just complain too much, that I have it really good. A friend of mine went to Haiti recently and she was showing me pictures of the downright squalors that they live in. How there's babies sleeping on dirt floors there. And I see photos like that and I get truly upset. It messes with my head. Because I can't alter a fucking situation. But that's the wrong point of view too. Because when you just look at the worst parts of the world, you tend to blind yourself from the injustices happening at home. You know, the war machine keeps on turning and it shows no signs of stopping. We elected a Democrat into office. The evil Republicans have started wars for their own gain. You know, there are people that make millions and millions of dollars off of this war. Meanwhile, there's some 21-year-old in Maryland that just shot himself because he couldn't cope with the reality that he had to take some innocent brown person's life. It happens all the time. It happens way more often than the news will ever report. And still, there's a collective yawn. No one really gives a shit. I still hear people trying to defend Barack Obama like he isn't a spineless pussy. And whenever you say that, you're automatically relegated to being a fucking Republican. No matter what. If you criticize the Obama administration, a lot of people will just look at you like you're fucking crazy. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how, after decades and decades of this false shit, that we don't realize it, that we can't cognitively see that neither party really works for us. Neither voice in American culture speaks for the average American person. There's nobody speaking for you. And if that doesn't piss you off, if that doesn't make you want to fucking rage and be vocal about it yourself, then there's something truly wrong with you. They have us split up into all these little things that don't matter at all in the grand picture. You know, things like gun rights and healthcare and gay marriage. You know, all the minute details about our existence that separate us. Because when you separate the small things, and that's all that you talk about, and that's all that you see, then you do kind of start to reflect that. And you start to see the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as two separate entities. Barack Obama was paid more by banks than anybody else in his campaign for presidency. And the reason that is because anybody will do anything for the right price. And do you really see any difference between Barack Obama and President Bush? Other than the fact that Barack Obama wants to fucking destroy the internet, apparently. At least when George Bush was president, he was open about being a despicable motherfucker. Barack Obama, on the other hand, is just glorified. It makes me sick to see how much MSNBC kisses his fucking ass. It's just flipped. Now, instead of Fox News kissing the president's ass, Fox News has become the rebellious news organization. When just 3 years ago, they were the status fucking quo. And I personally think, my narrow scope of how I perceive reality, I think it's because they want us to be separated by these small issues so they can fuck us in the ass in every other way possible. If Barack Obama really gave a shit about stopping the evil that happens abroad, he would start by trying to stop the evil that happens at home. And he doesn't. We're still in Iraq. We're still in Afghanistan. Guantanamo Bay is still open. And remember that Bradley Manning guy that I mentioned in brief before? Yeah, he's still sitting in prison. He'll probably never get out. A lot of people on both sides say that he should stay in prison, that he deserves to be there because he released so many cables that there's no way he could have read what was inside. He just blindly did it and put so many lives at risk in doing so. Harmed America's reputation. And that's bullshit, people. It's bullshit. For one thing, we should cease with this solitary confinement bullshit altogether because it's been psychologically proven to do a lot of damage to people. It's torture. It's literally torture. And we do it all across the board. We do it to regular prisoners. We do it every day. We institutionalize people so certain members of our society are bred for that lifestyle. It becomes part of them. But the things that we really get upset about are things like basic health care for our citizens. And no one, you'll never hear a politician ever fucking say that we should slash the defense budget. Even though if we wouldn't have invaded Iraq, we totally could have put every single young person into college in America. Every one of us. Not one of them excluded. But it's way more important to have control over the whole fucking world. It's way more important to keep sucking on that oil tit until it's dry. As long as we can buy cars that were made by people in other countries for a fraction of the cost, and we can still put ourselves in debt by going into college, it's never going to change. Because as long as these people are making as much money as they are, they control everything. The people that are paid to protect the wealthy are going to continue to protect them. And that's both sides of the fucking fence. I consider Barack Obama's presidency thus far to be a complete and absolute disaster. A failure that I can't even define. His big landmark in his presidency, the healthcare bill, was so watered down that by now it's really not much fucking different than it was before. Sick people that only earn $20,000 to $30,000 a year doing menial labor jobs have prescriptions that cost twice as much as they earn in a year. So some rich motherfucker can own 16 cars and have houses in the Bahamas and Chicago and New York and can fly anywhere that he fucking wants to. There's no such thing as truth. The truth is skewed no matter where you look. It's skewed to benefit somebody. And that somebody's not you. And that somebody's certainly not me. When you ask for truth, you realize how corrupt America is. So we'd rather watch the Jersey Shore and make fun of them and pretend that we're somehow better or more enlightened. Because really, that's how that show's so popular. You realize that. I mean, I'm sure they realize that. Snooki is a New York Times best-selling author, by the way. Fucking makes me sick. That's all. Just makes me fucking sick.